Madam Clerk, is a quorum present? Quorum being present, I call a special town meeting to order. To either of the constables of the town of Raynham and the county of Bristol, greeting in the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town, qualified to vote in elections and in town affairs, to meet the Raynham Veterans Memorial Town Hall, Don McKinnon Meeting Room in Raynham on Tuesday, the 31st day of March, 2020 at 7 o'clock in the evening, and then in there to act on the following articles, and there are 3. Pursuant to the written warrant, I've notified and warned the inhabitants of the town of Raynham by posting up attested copies of the same at 6 places directed by the vote of the town 14 days before the date of the meeting as within directed, signed by Constable James Donovan, Police Chief James Donovan. And folks, this is the original article, the original warrant. You got this at the front door. This is the original warrant from March 31st. It was postponed twice according to Mass General laws, and we are here tonight to deal on it. We're going to go through this one real quick, and then we're going to do the same thing on the second special town meeting. Then we're going to pause, and we're going to get into our normal cadence of events, which will be the annual town meeting. So, if everybody's ready to go, seeing no objection, Article 1, to see if the town will vote to transfer from proceeds from the sale of real estate account the sum of $165,000 to cover the costs associated with planning and designing a new Raynham public safety facility or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 1. Discussion on Article 1. Folks, if you have any questions or comments, there are stationary microphones up here at the front of the terrace. You can make your way as safely as possible up to the front if you have any questions about any of these articles. So discussion on Article 1 of the special town meeting. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 1 passes. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $55,000 to cover the costs associated with legal expenses of the town or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 2. Discussion on Article 2. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 2, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 2 passes. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $17,500 into the Stormwater Infrastructure Stabilization Fund or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 3. Discussion on Article 3. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 3, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 3 passes. Motion has been made and seconded to dissolve the special town meeting originally dated March 31st. Discussion on the motion to dissolve. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The special town meeting of March 31st suspended until, or delayed until tonight, is dissolved. The second warrant, to either of the constables of the town of Raynham and the county of Bristol, greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town, qualified to vote in elections and in town affairs, to meet at the Raynham Middle School in said Raynham on Monday, the 15th day of June, 2020, at 7 o'clock in the evening, then and there to act on the following articles, and there are 3. Pursuant to the within warrant, I have notified and warned the inhabitants of the town of Raynham by posting up attested copies of the same at 6 places directed by the town, by vote of the town, 14 days before the date of the meeting, as within directed, that is signed by Chief James Donovan. Article 1, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $127,000 from free cash or overlay surplus for the purpose of covering the expenses for emergency replacements for boilers at the Liberty and Merrill Elementary School, or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 1. Discussion on Article 1. Mr. Aligi from the Finance Committee. Motion has been made and seconded to amend Article 1, deleting the words or overlay surplus. Discussion on the motion to amend. Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to amend, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The article is amended. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 1 as amended. Discussion on the motion to Approve Article 1 as amended. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 1 as amended, please say aye. Opposed, no. Article 1 passes as amended. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $150,000 from sewer retained earnings to be transferred to the sewer maintenance facility debt account or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 2. Discussion on Article 2. Mr. Betancourt, if you would kindly approach and state your name and address.
I'd like to amend the amount, reducing it to $100,000 instead of $150,000.
Motion has been made and seconded to amend Article 2, striking the total $150,000, replacing with $100,000. Discussion on the motion to amend. Seeing none, all those in favor of amending Article 2, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 2 is amended. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 2 as amended. Discussion on the article as amended. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 2 as amended, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 2 passes as amended. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to transfer $9,132 from free cash to the Board of Selectmen general expense for prior year bills or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 3. Discussion on Article 3. And folks, as this is a payment for prior year bills, in order to carry town meeting, we need a 9/10 majority vote. Is there any further discussion on Article 3? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 3, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 3 passes unanimously. Motion has been made and seconded to dissolve the special town meeting. Discussion on the motion to dissolve. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Special town meeting of June 15th is dissolved. Okay, get that out of the way. Quorum remains present in the eyes of the chair. Everybody could please stand up in your spot and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a brief moment. In light of all that's going on in our nation, I would ask that we all join together in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the annual town meeting. My name is John Donahue. I am your town moderator, joined up here at the podium to your left by our Board of Selectmen, Pat Riley, Marie Smith, our Chairman Joseph Pacheco. To your right of me is Town Council Ted Pietnick, Town Clerk Marcia Sylvia, and our Finance Committee in various positions, Linda DeMello, David Lamarco, Dan McNally, James Halleck, Bill Legee. Don't see Ted. We're going to start with just a very brief acknowledgement of our Citizen of the Year. Typically, for those of you that attend town meetings regularly, we do a presentation for our Citizen of the Year, but given the events and the need to socially distance, we're going to make an announcement tonight that the Town of Raynham's 2020 Citizens Plural of the Year Award recipients are the volunteers of the Raynham Food Basket. The official presentation will be made at the special town meeting on September 14th, when hopefully many town voters will be able to attend. But at this time, we would like to congratulate them. We understand that there are quite a few of them in attendance tonight, so if we could just acknowledge the volunteers of the Raynham Food Basket. So before we get into the warrant, there are some minor differences to this year. This is This is an interesting town meeting, to say the least. I don't recall ever having to be standing in the great outdoors, but I'm kind of liking it. We would ask that you all stay seated for obvious reasons. I think we're well enough into COVID-19 restrictions to understand that we may feel good, we may feel all right, we may know that we're not ill, but those around us that could be at risk, let's be respectful of them and remain in your chairs to the extent that you can. If you do need to get up, find a clear path to get to where you're going. The facilities, the bathrooms are in the door over here. Slight right and then a left down the hallway if you need to use the facilities. Masks should stay on if at all possible. Again, I'm stating the obvious, but we do need to say it. If you do intend to speak tonight, we would ask you to make your way up front to either of the two stationary microphones. The best path is to, unless you're in the front here, is to work your way out to the side and then up the side aisles, which are wider. And if you intend to get up and I am moving along and you're not going to make it by the time you think I finish, just get my attention. Just yell. Make sure I see you so that we can pause so that you get a chance to be heard. Voting tonight will be voice votes, typically. You were all given a green voter card when you walked in. In the event that a voice vote is not clear, we'll do a second vote of showing the card. So all in favor, aye, you hold it up high. All those against, no, you hold it up high. And if that doesn't work, then I'll actually come out and click away and count you individually in your place. There will not be any secret ballots tonight. We just can't take the chance. It would involve way too many people actually interacting in close proximity to each other. So secret ballots will not be entertained tonight. I'll be using the consent agenda for Articles 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I'll explain that as we get to it. I'm going to forego the individual line item reading of the budget tonight. Those of you that are town meeting veterans understand that takes quite a bit of time, upwards of 20 to 30 minutes, depending upon if there's interaction with town meeting or not. So when we get to the budget, Article 3, I'll pause. I'll give you all time to review. I feel I'm on solid ground there, not reading the actual line items, because you've had this. Hopefully you've had this for about 10 days now. This came in the mail to my house 13 days ago, so I'm assuming that most of you had it somewhere in the last 10 days. So you've had a chance to review it. The budget is in the rear. If you take a look now with me, the last 4 or 5 pages, you'll see each department has a department number in the left-hand margin, a description of the department. The first column is the fiscal year 2020 budget. That's last year's budget. The middle column is what was requested for fiscal year 2021, which is the year coming up, starting July 1st. And the third column is the recommendation of the Finance Committee. And it's my understanding, Mr. Aligi, that columns 2 and 3 across the board agree with each other. So the Finance Committee and the department heads that submitted the budgets are in alignment, so I wouldn't worry too much about comparing columns 2 and 3. They are the same throughout the budget. Later in the warrant, we have some citizen petitions. We have some what we're referring to as non-essential articles that will most likely be dismissed. I can't say they will be dismissed because, after all, the decision to dismiss is up to you collectively as to whether or not they are dismissed. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as those articles approach. And I've talked to each of those, especially the citizens petitions articles. As we get on later in the warrant, I would ask that the proponent of the article actually come to the microphone and make whatever motion is going to be made, so that folks in town meeting understand that this is not an attempt to circumvent the process and get an article dismissed. These actually are being motioned to dismiss at the request of the proponent. So I think that's it for the sort of the preamble, if you will. I'll pause here for questions, if anybody has any, before we get into the warrant. Seeing none. To either of the constables of the town of Raynham and the county of Bristol, greeting in the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn inhabitants of said town qualified to vote in elections and town affairs to meet at the Raynham Middle School in said Raynham on Monday the 15th day of June 2020 at 7 o'clock in the evening, and then and there to act on the following articles, and there are 29. And you are directed to serve this warrant by posting up attested copies thereof at the 6 places directed by vote of the town in said town 7 days before the time of holding said meeting. Hereof fail not, and make due return of this warrant with your doings thereon to the town clerk at the time and place of meeting as aforesaid, given under our hands this 19th day of May in the year of our Lord 2020, and that is signed by our Board of Selectmen, Joseph R. Pacheco, Chair, Marie A. Smith, Vice Chair, Patricia A. Riley, Clerk. Pursuant to the within warrant, I have notified and warned the inhabitants of the town of Raynham by posting up attested copies of the same at 6 places directed by the vote of town 14 days before the date of the meeting as it had been directed, signed by Chief James Donovan, Constable. So, before I put these articles out for consideration, I'm going to review them very quickly. Articles 1 through 7, except Article 3. These are all what we refer to as housekeeping articles. They're on every annual town meeting. In my time here, there's never been any discussion on any of these articles, so we will take them up collectively as one and on a consent agenda. Article 1 nominates all minor town officers. I'll pause after each one. If anybody has any questions, please get my attention. Article 2 accepts the report of the town officers. Article 4 authorizes the Board of Selectmen to sign contracts on behalf of the town. Article 5 authorizes the Board of Selectmen to accept and enter into contracts for the expenditure of any funds allotted or to be allotted by the Commonwealth for town infrastructure. Article 6 raises and appropriates $400 for quarters for the American Legion. And Article 7 authorizes the town treasurer collector, with the approval of the selectmen, to borrow money from time to time in anticipation of revenue. So those 6 articles, 1 through 7, excepting Article 3, I would ask for a motion to approve. Motion has been made and approved, and seconded, sorry, jumping the gun there, to approve Articles 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Discussion on the motion to approve. Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Articles 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are accepted. Article 3, to raise such sums of money as may be necessary to defray town charges and make appropriations for same or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 3. Discussion on Article 3. And folks, this is the budget, so refer to the rear of your warrant. I'll give you all a few seconds or a few minutes to review all of the line items. If there's any line item that you desire to discuss, question, ask to hold, ask to amend, this is Mr. Name and address for the record, sir.
Gordon Luciano, Darrington Drive. Keep the mask on, Mr. Moderator.
That's a great point. When you speak, when you address town meeting, folks, you are welcome to pull your mask down so that we can hear you clearly.
Thank you. Maybe through you to the chairman of the Finance Committee. There were a couple of line items that were requested by our department heads, and the recommendation was of a different amount. Maybe that was prior to the printing, but maybe if Bill can give us an explanation. The first one is on 241, the request under building department personnel expense, variance of $50,000. The other one that I noticed was under 630, difference of $6,848 between the, that one went up, the request, and then the recommendation has $6,848. And the last one was 915 under life insurance, personnel expenses. That went down from the request to the recommendation by $8,992.
So, Mr. Aligi, one at a time here. Let's deal with 241.
Thank you.
So 241, there was a request to add personnel into the building department, and it was decided that that would not be done at this time. So that's, the request was originally in the budget, and then it was reduced.
Question is
Yes, it was.
yes, you heard the question. Question for those that didn't hear was that at the agreement of the department? And yes, it was. Mr. Aligi, on line 630, recreation personnel expense. Slight adjustment of a little over $6,000.
I don't have that in front of me. I'd have to check my file over there.
Let's
But I
go
can get
to,
back to that one.
yep, let's come back to that one. And then if you're aware on life insurance, 915.
On the life insurance item, there was, the request was to increase the amount of life insurance, and at this time, we thought it was prudent to remain the same, so we did not approve it was an $8,992 increase.
Okay, so 630 is the one. Do you think you have that in your records, or?
Give me a minute.
Yep. While we're waiting for the Finance Committee to review the records, are there any other questions on the budget? Any other line items that people want explanation for? Mr. Wheeler, let me bring a microphone to you. You stay right where you are. Can I get one of our CERT volunteers to perhaps bring the, it's wireless. I think you can take it right out of that.
Thank you. I appreciate not having to get up. I'm not too good at it. I questioned 3 departments in the amount of the increase, and I'm curious as to why, what's happening. The first one, I think, is the selectmen. The budget is up some 24%. Is this in anticipation of adding?
So let's come back to that. What's your second one, Dwayne? Your second department, you said you had 3?
The second one is Department 155, the data processing. I'm curious as to what's happening because this budget is up 42%.
Okay.
In a time when we were trying to keep the budgets around 2.5%.
And your third one?
And the third one was the fire department. That basically is up 9%. So that I was just questioning, it's not the amount of money. I'm just curious as to what is happening in those 3 departments to have such a significant increase, even though it's small dollars.
Right. Okay. Okay, Dwayne, we're going to get you answers right now. Which ones do you want to address?
Mr. Wheeler, the selectmen's account was increased in large part when we posted for a new town administrator. The salary, which was widely publicized, was larger than what we've paid in the past. It's about $40,000 a year more, so that's the increase in that. And then the fire department, that includes 2 new full-time professional firefighters. The staffing in that department had been pretty stagnant for the past decade plus, and this is working towards bringing them up to industry standards.
was just curious as to what actions were being taken. The same with in data processing, certainly a 40% increase. We must have something significant happen, and I'm a curious person, so I'm wondering what's happening there.
Okay, so we owe you one more answer, and we owe Mr. Luciano one more answer. Would be right with you.
115, was it? The data processing, a 40% increase is quite significant.
Dwayne, I have your answer on MIS as well. We've been doing security and data upgrades throughout the town, software and new computers and workstations.
So this is a significant change in the software programming
Yes.
to
Yes.
accomplish.
A lot of different things. We can't get into some of it because of the security of the town, but it's essentially to beef up the cybersecurity of the town.
Thank you, Joe.
Good, Dwayne? Got your answers?
Thank you. That's it, John. Appreciate having the microphone.
Oh,
Thank you.
please. We appreciate you, Dwayne. Always keep us honest. And there's no stabilization on the warrant. Mr. Aligi, I think we have one left, which is
630 recreation.
recreation, right?
And that increase of $7,000 was attributable to a contractual agreement, settlement of a contract.
Perfect, says Mr. Luciano.
Thank you.
Any further questions on the budget? Okay, so we have no further questions, and we have no proposed amendments, right, Mr. Aligi? On the motion to approve the budget, Article 3, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 3 passes. The town has a budget. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to authorize an offset receipts account under Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E, to fund the operation of the before and after school daycare run by Parks and Rec, and to authorize expenditures of $427,006 for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2020, as follows, and you see it listed. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 8. Discussion on Article 8. Seeing none, all in favor of Article 8, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 8 passes. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to transfer from receipts reserved for appropriation account number 220-650, Gordon Colony, the amount of $27,710 to the general fund to offset the associated Gordon Colony expenditures of the general operating budget, any unused funds at the end of fiscal year 2021 to be returned to the Gordon Colony receipts reserved for appropriation account, or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 9. Discussion on Article 9. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 9, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 9 passes. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $2,955,537 to be raised from sewer enterprise revenues for the operation and maintenance of the sewer department, as categorized below, or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 10. Discussion on Article 10. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 10, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 10 passes. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $60,000 for the Sewer Betterment Fund, or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 11. Discussion on Article 11. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 11, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 11 passes. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $543,155 from the Betterment Reserve Fund for sewer construction debt, or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 12. Discussion on Article 12. Sir, name and address, please.
John Dolan, South Main Street. I have two questions on Article 12. One is, I thought sewer construction debt was being paid by taxation.
I'm looking at you, Mr. Betancourt. Is this for you, or?
We have a special article to raise this money for the Betterment Reserve Fund for sewer construction debt. I thought sewer construction debt was being paid by taxation.
Mr. Betancourt, if you would, just, we've got people in the back that I know can't hear you.
What happened, John, was that the treasurer, tax collector, and the accountant got together, squared away an accounting procedure to keep housekeeping easier for them, and the net result is that that amount of money comes out of that account. It's designated for debt, and that's why they created it last year.
But why are we going?
Guys, I need, Joe, if you could step back, Joe. John, approach the microphone, please. Thank you.
Like, I still question why we're going to appropriate this money.
Mr.
And
Betancourt?
leading into that, does any of that come out of retained earnings from the sewer department budget?
Mr. King, Town Treasurer Collector.
To answer your question, sewer debt is paid 75% taxation and 25% via betterment assessments. That betterment reserve account is where we deposit the betterment assessment monies, and we are appropriating the 25% of that out of that account at this time.
Is any of that coming out of retained earnings from the sewer department?
All these funds are coming from prepaid betterments or from the amount that's been apportioned to the tax bill in entirety.
So none of it is coming out of the sewer department budget?
It is not coming out of retained earnings.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any further discussion on Article 12? If I could get one of the CERT volunteers to, thank you. Any further discussion on Article 12? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 12, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 12 passes. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $48,200 from the sewer maintenance facility debt account for the annual payment to the maintenance facility debt, or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 13. Discussion on Article 13. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 13, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 13 passes. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to transfer $401,741 as detailed below from the ambulance receipts account to operate the ambulance service for the first half of fiscal year 2021. Any unused funds at the end of fiscal year 2021 to be returned to the ambulance receipt account or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 14. Discussion on Article 14. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 14, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 14 passes. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to transfer from bond premiums sum of $11,507 for payment of fiscal year 21 debt service as described below, or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 15. Discussion on Article 15. Seeing none, all in favor of Article 15, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 15 passes. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,187,710 for the purpose of paying the debt service on the outstanding bonds and notes for the Raynham Middle School, the renovation projects for the Liberty Elementary School and the Merrill School, and for the Regional High School, or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to approve Article 16. Discussion on Article 16. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 16, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 16 passes. Article 17, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $37,000 to carry out state-mandated recertification interim adjustments of all real and personal property valuations and maintenance services for fiscal year 2022. This will be year one of a 3-year contract. Motion has been made and seconded to approve Article 17. Discussion on Article 17. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 17, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 17 passes. Article 18, to see if the town will vote to establish a minimum value of personal property subject to taxation of $3,000 beginning fiscal year 2021, as described in Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 54, or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to approve Article 18. Discussion on Article 18. Mr. Dolan. Got to get a chair closer to the microphone. Okay.
First of all, what are we classifying as personal property?
I'm going to guess this is for Mr. King. Yes? No? Oh, Mr. Lally? Is that you? Oh. Mr. Lally from the Board of Assessors.
Personal property would be any business property that is not real estate. Could be equipment, it could be computer equipment, anything that goes along that nature.
You're gonna come into my property, check out my John Deere tractor, my HP computer, and you're gonna tax me on it.
You do that are you running a business?
No?
No, we're talking business now.
Well, it doesn't say that. It does not say that. And I see this as a cash cow for the town. You're limiting it to $3,000 now, and what are we gonna go, $4,000 next year, and up and up and up? I mean, our real estate taxes, I think, are pretty high as they are, and I don't think we need to have somebody coming in and taxing us for our personal property.
First off, we're not talking residents, we're talking business here.
Then I would like to amend this article.
Please,
to
hold on,
include
Mr. Dillon, hold on one
business.
second. I'll recognize you in a second after he's given you an explanation.
First off, you're talking about raising taxes. This is actually exempting certain business properties. We have about 487 personal property accounts, and those amount to about $36 million. What we're proposing here is to exempt about 118 of those accounts. We could be looking at business property, personal property that's valued at, say, $100. That raises $1.90 in taxes. So we have to prepare a bill for that, mail it, and then if the business doesn't pay it, we'll have to send a notice, there's postage, and another notice. So we're looking at a considerable amount of money, in this case, to collect $1.98. Now, again, to put this in perspective, we have 487 personal property accounts amounting to $36 million. What we're proposing is to exempt 118 of those accounts. That amounts to about $186,000 out of a $36 million base. We're looking at the loss in total of $3,600 in revenue. And for that, we save the cost of preparing bills, mailing the bills, and if we can't collect, we have to, again, get the constable to collect these bills. And if we can't collect these bills, we have to write them off because there's no way to lien personal property. So it's a losing situation, and it's not economically feasible to keep these accounts like this. So we're really, hopefully, saving the town money.
That is not what the article says. If that was your intent, I think this article should be rewritten and come up to the September town meeting and not be passed as is written now, because this really leaves the barn door open.
To what?
So
To what
you
does
could
it
come in
leave?
and tax my personal property.
No, no. Personal property,
I think where the disconnect here, Mr. Lally, is
Yes, sir.
the difference between personal property, like Mr. Dolan said, my lawn tractor, but I think what you're talking about is the personal property of the local businesses, right?
local businesses.
But
We're not
but it's
talking residential property.
correct, I understand, but it is unclear in the
Oh.
article, so I don't know what the solution is, but
We could amend the article.
please approach.
Just for the record, James Dupont, 118 Elm Street East. Mr. Moderator, through you to the assessors, as I read the article, it says, to see if the town will vote to establish a minimum value of personal property subject to taxation. Which is to say, if it is not of the minimum value, Mr. Lally, if he would respond, is not then subject to taxation. This doesn't open the barn door, right? This closes the barn door. Mr. Moderator, may direct
I
that to
think
Mr. Lally.
well, I think your interpretation, Mr. Lally, I don't want to speak for you, but I think you have the right interpretation. Yes, you're negating a subset of the tax base and saying you no longer have a tax obligation. But the question, Mr. Dupont, is not that. The question is personal versus business. That's what we're struggling with. And town council is, as we speak, checking on Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 54, which may or may not give us some clarity on the result of this vote here. So in the meantime, I think we'll pause, if that's okay, and wait for town council's opinion. Mr. Dolan.
We do not have that information available to us in our houses, this chapter 59, section 5.
Well, I think you're about to get an interpretation if we can find it.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Lally.
Just a clarification. Maybe I don't understand. When you think personal, are you thinking, again, residential, personal in the sense of, we're talking non-real estate, not personal is in residential property. We're talking, again, we're looking at business property here.
In this article, between business or residential.
It is in the general laws. If you look to see what is exempt.
So if we could,
Personal property for residents, you're not taxed on your personal property, unless of course you have a summer home or something. But your personal property as a resident is not subject to taxation. We're looking at businesses here. Those are the ones that are subject to taxation, not residential personal property. That is not subject to taxation.
so if I could read complete. So town council has just handed me Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 50, well, Section 5. Classification by the Commissioner or the Appellate Tax Board of a corporation as a business corporation, manufacturing corporation, or research and development corporation, as respectfully defined as aforesaid, shall be followed in the assessment under this chapter. So it's clear from the Mass General laws that's referred to that it refers to corporate law, corporate business only.
Thank you.
Do I have that right? I don't want to. Everybody heard that, right? Did you get that on camera? He said I do. Further discussion on Article 18, if there is any. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 18, please say aye. Opposed, no. Article 18 passes. Article 19, to see if the town will vote to authorize revolving fund spending limits for use by the following accounts of town departments, boards, committees, agencies, or officers under Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, subsection 53E, or take any action relative thereto, and they are listed. Motion has been made and seconded to approve Article 19. Discussion on Article 19. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 19, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 19 passes. Article 20. To see if the town will vote to establish a fee of $45 levied on the license owner for any dangerous dog hearing held by the Board of Selectmen or authorized town entity, where the police department is directed to serve the order or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to approve Article 20. Discussion on Article 20. Sir. With regards to what article? Can you just step up so I can hear you and name and address?
I know what you said about the 20 through 29 individuals coming up talking about their own articles, but in light of the COVID thing and not as many people here as usual, I think we'd probably agree that more people being here to vote and have their voices heard is better. And police, our medics, firefighters would probably agree, given all the procedures we had coming in here. I'd like to make a motion that we not dismiss but postpone Articles 20 through 29 until a later date, maybe suggest the September 14th meeting.
So I think, Mr. Napick, that we'll deal with these individually as they come up, and if motion to dismiss is in line, which I think you'll see a few motions to dismiss, I think you'll get what you're looking for the most part. Maybe not for all of them, but for the vast majority of them. But it's the will of the town meeting, and this is one of the larger town meetings we've had in quite some time, with the exception of maybe last year. It's a good sign. Maybe we should be outside all the time. Further discussion on Article 20. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 20, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 20 passes. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to establish a fee of $100 for the first offense and $250 for the second and subsequent offenses for any car dealer deemed by the police department to have violated the restriction of offloading vehicles on a roadway as established with their annual licensing requirements. Failure to pay the fine may result in suspension or revocation of license or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to approve Article 21. Discussion on Article 21. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 21, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 21 passes. Article 22, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 for the purpose of providing professional services, purchase of equipment, materials, and construction, contract obligations in order to make improvements to the South School located at 305 South Street East, or take any action relative thereto. Motion has been made and seconded to approve Article 22. Discussion on Article 22. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 22, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 22 passes. Article 23, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the General Court of Massachusetts under the provisions of the Home Rule Amendment of the Massachusetts Constitution for the adoption of a special act which would increase the number of selectmen from 3 to 5, or take any action relative thereto. Mrs. DeMello?
Government Study Committee, we would like to dismiss Article 23.
Motion has been made and seconded to dismiss Article 23. Discussion on the motion to dismiss Article 23. Mr. Wheeler, stay right there. Stay there, Mr. Mellon. Right. Green mask.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I am not sure as to why this article was submitted by the Board of Selectmen, but certainly raising it from 3 to 5 makes a lot of sense to me. I think that the Selectmen currently have difficulties in that 2 of them cannot even have a discussion on the telephone legally, because 2 makes a quorum and needs to be a public thing. So I don't know why this was proposed, but I'm certainly in favor of increasing it to 5 from 3. I think it just gives a greater opportunity for the selectmen to discuss it outside of a meeting if two want to discuss something. That's just my opinion. I don't see why we should dismiss it. I would like to hear from the selectmen as to why they proposed it, but I certainly am in favor of it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Do you want to, Mr. Mello, on behalf of the Government Study Committee?
I agree with you, as does the Government Study Committee, but because of what's going on with COVID, we felt it would be better off to put it to another town meeting.
Mr. DuPont?
Mr. Moderator, as a point of order, parliamentary inquiry, motion to dismiss is procedural and is not subject to debate.
Mr. DuPont, Town Council agrees with your assessment of a motion to dismiss. There is no debate allowed. So, on the motion to dismiss, Article 23, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We'll try that one more time with your cards in the air, please. I'll pause and wait for everybody to get their card. All those in favor, please hold your card in the air. Favor of dismissal, please hold your card in the air. Thank you. All those opposed to dismissal, please hold your card in the air. It's the opinion of the chair that the motion to dismiss passes. Article 24. To see if the town will vote to assume the operational responsibility of the Raynham Public Library at the direction of and contingent upon the vote of the Raynham Public Library Board of Trustees to dissolve or amend the library's charitable 501c3 status through a duly noticed meeting of the library's Board of Trustees with proper notice provided to the Attorney General's nonprofit organization Public Charities Division of the proposed transfer and dissolution, together with all required filings and forms, or take any action relative thereto. Ms. DeMello, is there a motion?
On behalf of the Government Study Committee, I would like to make a motion to approve this article.
I have a motion and a second to approve Article 24. Discussion on Article 24. At this time, I would ask for the town meeting's unanimous consent to allow the library director, Eden Ferguson, a non-resident, to address town meeting. Any objection? Seeing none, Ms. Ferguson.
Eden Ferguson, 16 Glen Road, Northeastern. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening. What a lovely evening it is, and I'm so glad all of you came out tonight. Before I begin, I would like to recognize the members of the Library Board of Trustees, Dr. Lee Kozak, Reverend Jim Tilby, Jeff D'Ambley, Heidi Daughtery, Yulmi Cho, Tom Wilbur, Jennifer Travis, John Donahue, Sue Lopes, and Jenny Jacks. Would you please stand? Thank you. I'd also like to recognize members of the library staff who are residents of Raynham and who are here tonight. Rebecca Hall, Jane Lang, and Debbie Dallaire. Thank you. I'd also like the members of the Friends of the Library to stand and be recognized. Thank you. Thank you for coming out tonight. I am speaking tonight as director of the Raynham Public Library. It has been my privilege to serve as library director in Raynham for the past 14 years. I am speaking in favor of supporting Article 24. I thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'd like to thank the members of the Government Study Committee whose careful consideration and unanimous support of this proposal has been gratefully appreciated, and the town selectmen who have given us the opportunity to put this article before you tonight. There is much I could say in support of the article, but there are probably two questions that are foremost in your mind at this moment. The first question is, why is this article even necessary? I thought the library was a part of the town. And the second question is, will this increase my taxes? Let's talk about the first question. Many, if not most people, assume the library is part of town government. In fact, many people refer to the library as the Raynham Town Library. People are surprised to learn that the library is a separate private corporation, a 501c3, not-for-profit charitable organization, the Raynham Library Association. The Raynham Library Association is a separate body with no connection to the town of Raynham. It was incorporated in 1897 and continues to operate to this day with a 12-member board of trustees. If you look at the town warrant, however, you'll see the library as a line item in the town budget. That is because the town of Raynham funds almost 90% of the library's operating costs each year. There would be no public library in Raynham without town funding. The town pays for almost every aspect of library service: staff salaries, health insurance, books and materials, supplies, equipment, utilities, monthly building maintenance, and membership in the sales library network. This year, our budget was $456,000. $413,000 was town funding. We have a hybrid system of library organization in Raynham, a private corporation funded with public money. It is neither fully an independent corporation nor a town department, but a private corporation that is fully dependent on town funding. This has created a system that is inefficient, cumbersome, costly, and confusing. Let me give you some examples. Since the library is not a town department, we must engage an accounting service to pay our bills and keep our financial records. Taxpayer money that funds the library is used to pay $6,000 a year to an accounting service. You, the taxpayers of Raynham, are already paying for an accounting service. It's located in Town Hall. Why would you pay for duplicate service? The same can be said about our payroll. Since the library is not a town department, we must use $2,500 a year of taxpayer money for a payroll service. Wouldn't it be more cost effective to include library employees in the town payroll? We use $3,800 a year on a financial review and tax filings. Wouldn't it be more efficient and cost-effective to include the library in the annual town audit? This is a costly way to do business, and the people who are paying for this are you, the taxpayers of Raynham. Every dollar that the library uses to pay administrative services that the town could provide is a dollar in direct services, materials and programs, denied to the taxpayers of the town. Operating as a 501c3 funded by the town is a cumbersome process involving repayments and repeated requests for funds transfer. Examples. Included in the annual library appropriation from the town is funding for staff health insurance. Each month, the library sends a check back to the town of the town's own money in payment of health insurance. The town gives it to us, and we give it back. 4 times a year, the library sends written requests to the town to transfer funds from either the town appropriation or state aid to public libraries. I usually pick up the check at town hall, drive to the bank, and deposit the money. I am not an employee of the town. Yet I walk out of town hall twice a year with a check for more than $200,000. I don't think this is the way to do business. It's inefficient, cumbersome, costly, and confusing. Now let's talk about the second question. Will this increase my taxes? No. Your taxes will not increase as a result of this change. The library receives less than 1% of the town budget. The town is currently paying 90% of our operating costs, including salaries and health insurance, the largest expenses associated with employees. There will be costs associated with the retirement and pension fund for the 5 employees added. The town has estimated these costs to be no more than $30,000 a year, less than a 1.5% increase in the funding of this line item. Money saved by eliminating duplicate administrative costs could be redirected to cover this cost. In addition, the association has over $250,000 in assets it can bring to the table to offset these costs. The library will continue to receive state aid, fines, fees, federal and state grants that make up the remaining 10% of the budget. The proposal that the library become a town department is a logical step in governance and oversight of a service the town currently provides. Without ownership, the town has no oversight of the hundreds of thousands of dollars it uses to fund the library every year. It pays for a service it doesn't own, has no control over, and no way to affect current or future decisions. Making the library a part of the town would ensure a more robust protection of this important community asset, provide for greater control and management of town monies, give the town the authority and responsibility to see that the library functions both efficiently and effectively, and most importantly, transfer ownership to where it belongs, with the major investor, the major stakeholder, you, the residents of Raynham. I ask you to vote in favor of Article 24.
Any further discussion on Article? Oh, come on up. Further discussion on Article 24. Make your way to the microphone, please. It's very good. Mr. Dupont. If you'd like to speak, folks, just make your way to the microphone, and we'll acknowledge you when you're there.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Lee Kozak, 123 Sherwood Lane, and tonight I'm speaking to you as the president of the Library Association Board of Trustees. So I'm sure a lot of you are wondering why the library trustees felt that this article should be brought up tonight rather than dismissing it to be considered in the fall. Be assured that we only did this after very careful consideration and decided that we absolutely needed to press forward with this article at tonight's meeting. Why? Because tonight is really just the first step in a very lengthy legal process. From here, if approved, there are legal and procedural issues to be worked out between the Library Association and the town, and the association and the state. 5013C issues will need to go before the Attorney General, the Inspector General, and eventually to the State Supreme Judicial Court. It is a lengthy process to dissolve or transform a 501c3, and then to transfer the assets to any municipality, such as the town of Raynham. This is also going to be very complicated given this year by the backlog in the state court system due to the pandemic. Only after that can the final transition be made and the town make any final decision and plans on how to best oversee and manage the library. All of these things will take many months to be resolved. I'd also like to reassure all of you that this is an excellent time for the town to assume operational control of the library. The town will be taking on no debt whatsoever. The land was gifted in the late 1800s, as Eden told you. The building has long been paid for. The additions have long been paid for. And the association will be contributing upwards of $200,000, $250,000, depending on the market, to be used by the town to help the library run and expand in the future. Finally, we do acknowledge the fact that there is certainly a segment of voters that are not attending tonight's meeting because of the health concerns, although we did not expect this many people to come out tonight, and we're pleased to see so many of you. We're painfully aware that a great number of our supporters, library patrons, and supporters, and we thought many of our Friends of the Library organization, although I'm thrilled to see all of you here, not all of you, but many of you here tonight. It is that important for our library and to our town to move forward on this process right now. And so we do ask you for your support of Article 24 this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kozak.
Orchard Street. Just have a quick question. Is there, or was, or if anyone knows whether there was an original trust instrument that was, that granted the land that the library was on? It sounds like the land was given in trust in the 1890s. So I'm just curious if there was a trust instrument, and if so, if there are any reversionary interests that might, prevent, this trust from being extinguished.
So the land there was given in trust by a family and we do have a copy of the paperwork. The only guiding rule is that that land always has to be used for library use. Eden, do we have anything other than that to say?
The deed does state that the land was given for the use of a public library, and regardless of whether it's a private corporation or the town of Raynham, as long as it's used for a library, then it is ours, yes.
Mr. Dupont?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Now, this is the annual town meeting, but this is a special town meeting. This is the first town meeting we've had without Don McKinnon. Now, I invoke his name because this is one of those things. Don McKinnon had a couple of things he used to say a lot. Gordon's here, John's here. We had the privilege and the honor to serve with Don McKinnon. And he talked about horse sense. And in looking at this, I looked at this and I said, this is just horse sense. The town's paying most of the money for this now, but it doesn't go through the Finance Committee. It doesn't go through the usual appropriation procedures. It's not subject to a town meeting vote where you can debate and amend. This makes that happen, and it's your money to begin with. And this is a win-win. You're not taking on something that is failing and being asked to fix it. You're taking on something that works. Now, you wonder, the other question that seems to come up is this the right time to do this at this annual town meeting, given the circumstances of the epidemic? Dr. Kozak said, and I looked into this, it's a very extensive process, very tedious. It goes through the Attorney General's office when you divest a nonprofit. You don't just hand over the keys and the checkbook and say, here you go. It takes time. If we don't vote this tonight, if we put this off, it may not get done in time for it to be ready for the annual town meeting next year. If you vote this tonight, next year, on that same warrant that you got tonight, you'll get a request for an appropriation in the budget with the line items, just like every other town department. You can debate those, you can amend them, vote for them or against them. Now, I looked at this and I said, this is like a duck test. Walks like a duck, talks like a duck, to duck. It walks like a town department. It acts like a town department. But more importantly, I've got to just say this. This is maybe not the best thing to say at a town meeting. This isn't about the money. Is that what this is about? This is about something that defines your town. This is about something that everybody in this town benefits from, whether you've never set foot in the place or you go there every day. And it is not going to cost you more money. You're already paying the money. The library has funds. They have the Friends of the Raynham Public Library who can gift things to the town. The selectmen have to vote to accept or reject a gift, and they can do that. So this is a win-win. Now, we've been fortunate in Raynham as the town has grown. Those police officers, those firefighters, we've kept pace with things as this town has grown and changed. Our schools have done that. If you vote for this, the town library will do the same thing. We've been lucky in this town. We've had some good people serving the Board of Selectmen. We've had good people running the town and the departments. You've got good people running your library. All this does is make it better for everybody, more cost effective, out in the open, more transparent, better accountability. With that, Mr. Moderator, move the question.
Well, we've got people in line. Jimmy, if that's okay. I would ask if anybody is left to speak, we kind of move along here because we are getting up against darkness and a few more articles to deal with. So, ma'am, name and address, please.
Good evening. I am Yulmi Cho. I live on Leonard Street. I am also volunteering on the library's board, and I'm here to vote yes on Article 24. A question you might ask is, if you've been using the library all these years without any problems, why should you care who owns the library? But I think the first question you have to ask is this: if there was a problem, how would you even know about it? Under the state law, the town accounting department has to make sure that each town expenditure is lawful, justified, and is that it's funded. It has to also be recorded and reported periodically. We are currently being deprived of that level of transparency and accountability when it comes to the library's funds. Also, we are very lucky to have Eden, the library director, who serves both as the director of the library services as well as the CEO and the CFO of the organization. If Eden was to retire, we are just one bad hiring decision away from having all of library services decline in quality and potentially having the library funds being mismanaged. Plus, the hiring decision doesn't belong to the town. It belongs to a volunteer board that meets no more than 10 times a year. I think currently you have more oversight protection over who you hire as the town tree warden than you do over the library. I think that is not sensible. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Ginny Flanagan Jakes, Althea Street, and I will be short. I've grown up here in Raynham. I'm a product of your school system and a proud member of the community. I've raised my children here as well, who were schooled here. I'm here tonight to support this vote for making the library part of the town administration. I am also a member of the board of the library. When I personally vote on something, there are two things I consider: what's good for my community and what's good for me. So the answers to that are simple. Eden went through line by line why it's good for the community. You're already paying for all of this, but you're paying extra for duplicate services, which is a waste of money. How does it affect me? That's my second question, is I always look to see what is it personally for me. I'm a taxpayer in this town. I own property. Are my taxes going to rise? No. We talked about the fact that significantly you're supporting the library already. So it's a win-win. It's good for my community, which is extremely important to me, and it's good for me. Who knows all the good things that it'll do, but it's not going to cost me any money. So it can only go forward in a more positive manner. It's good for the community, it's good for you. Thank you.
Ma'am?
Lorraine Nicholson, First Street. Yeah, I just would like to say no one loves the library more than me. I use it all the time, and it's such an asset to our town. But I also just want to say that, and I'm sure the selectmen can back me up on this, that they've received many phone calls in regards to these articles, so that we wouldn't be sitting here for the rest of the evening. We still have many more articles ahead of us. I think pre-town meeting also gave us a presumption. I know a lot of people that didn't come here tonight that would have wanted to be here, but were afraid to come. And I don't know why we're discussing the articles. I thought that the pre-town gave us that presumption. I know town meeting has a mind of its own, but I think you are infringing on, I don't want to say infringing, but I think some constitutional rights of other people may be in question that weren't able to be here tonight. And I also feel that taking away the secret ballot as well, if you're going to discuss these articles, is not the right thing to do either, because it's a pandemic, and we have different situation here this evening. But I think that these articles should not be being discussed tonight. That's just how I feel. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll address the secret ballot, and you're absolutely right. It's a pandemic, and that is why we're not having it. Because I cannot put town officials, volunteers at risk. I will not. Further discussion on Article 24. I see jackets going on. We're going to move along here. Yeah. Nothing further. Last call on Article 24? No? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 24, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 24 passes. Article 25, to see if the town will reconsider and vote to amend the Town of Raynham zoning bylaws as permitted by Section 3.2 of the Raynham zoning bylaws by reclassifying 2 areas of the subject property which are adjacent to New State Highway, Route 44 to the north, the Taunton River to the east, Church Street to the west, and an undeveloped parcel of property subject to a recorded declaration of development restriction to the south, which the 2 subject areas border, identified on the attached Town of Raynham Assessors Map 16, Lot 55, from Res A to business as to allow the property to be singularly zoned as business or take any action relative thereto. Second. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 25. Discussion on Article 25. Report of the Planning Board, Mr. Driscoll.
Yeah, Russ Driscoll from Britton Street. In accordance with provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 5, the Raynham Planning Board held a public hearing by virtual telemeeting on June 4th, 2020 to consider amending zoning bylaw Section 3.2 zoning map by rezoning an area of Route 44 and Church Street from current Residential A District to Residential B District as described on the town meeting warrant. The subject area is identified on Town of Raynham Assessors Map 16, Lot 55, or take any action relative thereto. By a vote of 4 in favor, Mr. Fountain, Mr. Gallagher, Mr. Driscoll, and Mr. Texera, in 1 abstention, Mr. Andrade, the Planning Board voted to recommend the proposed amendment.
Thank you, sir. Further discussion on Article 25. Sir, name and address, please.
Drew Navick, Church Street. I'd like to make a short statement. This all started because my neighbors and I had concerns about traffic additionally on the road from the proposed development this property entails. As we have mentioned several times, we never had any intent, nor do we now, of trying to prevent the development going in. We raised concerns. We read the bylaws about a retirement community. When we compared the plans to the bylaws, we had even more concerns. The developer, by the way, is chairman of the planning board. He has abstained and recused himself from all those meetings. I say this because he should know the rules and the bylaws better than anyone. This isn't about a property's zoning designation. This is about somebody who is supposed to enforce rules that the rest of us have to abide by, but wants to himself be exempted from the rules.
Careful here, Mr. Knapp. I'm going to stop you right there. This is not the place for that type of insinuation or argument. Stick to the 4 corners of the article.
I'm not insinuating anything, sir.
That was pretty clear insinuation.
Well, I stand by my freedom to say that, sir.
Not on this floor. You do not have the freedom to make insinuation like that.
Well, I'll continue my statement if you're okay with that.
Please do.
Either have a townwide change in the zoning rules or don't, but apply the rules to everyone. No cutouts. Developers should not come in here, I don't care where they're from, and throw their weight and money around, threaten lawsuits, and change the vote that this town took a vote on 6 months ago that was supposed to be postponed for 2 years before it could come up again, and it was brought up by the town. They have the freedom to do that, but shouldn't go down. Shouldn't happen. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Further discussion on Article 25. Last call. We need a 2/3 vote for this, by the way, folks. Zoning bylaws need a 2/3 vote. This is the only article on the annual town meeting where we need more than a simple majority. Seeing no further comments or questions, all those in favor of Article 25, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. Opinion of the chair, the article carries. Article 25 is approved. Article 26. To see if the town will vote to amend the Town of Raynham general bylaws or take any action relative thereto by adding a new subsection single-use styrofoam packaging. I will not read it, folks. Mr. Gelfi.
I'd like to make a motion to dismiss.
Motion has been made and seconded to dismiss Article 26. Discussion on Article 26, Mr. Gelfi.
I made the motion because I was informed that many residents would not be attending town meeting because of health concerns. And I was given some options to consider. I decided to make the motion to dismiss so that everyone has the opportunity at a future town meeting to take part in the debate vote. After the pre-town meeting last Tuesday, the selectmen did agree to place the article on the warrant for the special town meeting September 14th. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion on Article 26? Seeing none, all those in favor of dismissing Article 26, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 26 is dismissed. Article 27, to see if the town of Raynham will vote to amend the general bylaws by adopting a bylaw or take any action relative thereto entitled Reduction of Single-Use Plastic Bags, with a description that follows, or take any action relative thereto. Ma'am.
Chelsea Smith, Cynthia Drive in Raynham. I'd like to make a motion to dismiss Article 27 until a future fall meeting where everyone can have an opportunity.
Don't get ahead of me. Article has been made and seconded to dismiss Article 26. Discussion on Article 27. Discussion on Article 27, Mrs. Smith.
I think that it would be further representative and a fair time to have a good discussion when we're not in a pandemic, and I'd like to have a fair representation of this. So I look forward to talking about it in September when things are calmer.
Further discussion on motion to dismiss Article 27. Seeing none, all those in favor of dismissing Article 27, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 27 is dismissed. Article 28, to see if the town will vote to create a town bylaw which requires all elected town officials to attend the annual town meeting, the fall town meeting, and any special town meetings as required by the town of Raynham or take any action relative thereto.
Mr. Moderator, John Teixeira, First Street. I'd like to make a motion to dismiss Article 28.
So, motion has been made and seconded to dismiss Article 28. Discussion on Article 28, Mr. Teixeira.
Yes, I dismissed this article based on our discussions at pre-town meeting and the vote by the selectmen following that meeting on the, I believe it was the 9th of January, to resubmit this article for the fall town meeting under their submission.
Further discussion on Article 28. Seeing none, all those in favor of dismissing Article 28, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. Article 28 is dismissed. Article 29, to see if the town will vote to create a town bylaw to establish term limits for all elected town offices with a description that follows, or take any action relative thereto. Mr. Teixeira.
Yes, Mr. Moderator. Still John Teixeira, by the way. I'd like to make a motion to dismiss Article 29.
Motion has been made and seconded to dismiss Article 29. Discussion on Article 29.
Yes, for the same reasons that I discussed on the Article 28, so to be resubmitted in the fall, being submitted by the selectmen, so we won't need another citizen's petition.
Thank you, sir. Further discussion on Article 29. Seeing none, all those in favor of dismissing Article 29, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 29 is dismissed. Before we dissolve, folks, I need everybody just to stay seated for the duration of the meeting until our Raynham Police, led by Lieutenant LaPlante, can assist us all with clearing the area in a safe manner. So, do I have a motion has been made and seconded to dissolve the annual town meeting? Discussion on the motion to dissolve? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to dissolve, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Annual town meeting is dissolved. Thank you, folks, very, very much. I do have a few thank yous. While we're waiting to, David, you can start. Don't wait for me. They can hear. We could not have pulled this off, folks, without a heck of a lot of help, and I just want to acknowledge some folks. Of course, Raynham Police, Chief Donovan and Lieutenant LaPlante. Raynham Fire for the screening and the safety tonight, Chief LaCivita and his entire team. Health Agent Matt Tanis, of course, our town clerk, and her office did yeoman's work. Town Administrator Graham Waters. Here at Raynham Middle School, Bob Pacheco and Mark Chaka. Town IT Director Tim Graybars. Our audio was provided by Ray Cam tonight, Mike Halen, and the entire area tonight was set up by our Highway Department today, Ed Buckley and his entire team. On behalf of a grateful town, I thank you all.